in order to solve this problem, we need to be familiar with the general equation for a periodic function. So you can see I've written that out here. And I wrote cos, not sine, because obviously from our four potential answers, it is going to be a cosine function. The other thing you need to remember is that there's an equation for finding the period of a periodic function, and that is the period is equal to 2 pi over the value of b, which is right there in the equation. So first we're going to solve for b. And I can tell already that it's going to be equal to either pi over 4 or 8 based on the multiple choice options. So let's go ahead and do that. In order to solve for b, we can just replace b and p here. So b is going to be equal to 2 pi over the period, and we know the period has a value of 8 since we are told that in the question. So 2 pi over 8 simplifies to pi over 4. So that is our b value. Now that we know that, we can cross off options number 3 and 4 since those don't have the correct b value. Now, looking at our two remaining possible answers, we can see that the only difference between them is the d value of being either -3 or +5. So remember that d represents the vertical shift of the function. In other words, the midline. And a at the front here, which we know to have a value of -4, represents the amplitude of the graph. Now, another way to think of the amplitude is that it's the distance from the midline to the top, or the distance from the midline to the bottom. So if this is our midline, our graph would look something like this. Then our amplitude would be the distance from there to there. Now, we're going to use the knowledge that we know the amplitude has a value of -4 to help us. Because graphically, that means the distance from here to here is 4, as well as the distance from the midline to the minimum value is a distance of 4. Now, because we want the graph to have a maximum value or a maximum height of 1, that means we know the y value at the max is 1. So this line here is 1. And then if we just simply subtract 4, from 1, we'll get the value of the midline, where the midline is. And 1 minus 4 is -3. So the midline is at -3, which means our d value is -3. And so now we know the correct answer is option number 1, because that has the correct d value. So we're subtracting 3 there. All right, so I hope that was helpful, and that's it for this video. Thanks for visiting JD's Preparation.